Corks one into right, down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. There's a drive. Way back. It could be. Playing a high drive into left. Back goes the Craig. He's at the track. He has it as the world champion for 2011. A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it to Rizzo. It's in time. And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
This is the Team of Rivals podcast. No insiders, no anonymous sources, just passionate analysis from the bleacher seats. Here are your hosts, Ron Nuttall and Peter Geddes.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. Elliott and I are here right now. We're waiting on Mr. Geddes to either one, answer his damn phone or get his ass home so he can join us. But I hope everyone's had a great week. Elliott, how have you been?
And good. Good week.
How are your thumbs? You said you've been playing Xbox all day. Right?
Well, just a little bit since getting off work. The wife and little guy went to the ice cream shop to meet one of his little friends, and I got some gaming time to myself tonight, so I was on Destiny 2 tonight.
Sweet. What's in that? I don't want to ask him what's in that cup right now. So your boys are rained out tonight. Mine are playing
postponed.
Right now.
Yes,
they're playing the Philadelphia Phillies, and the surprising Philadelphia Phillies a quarter way into the season. I think we all thought they would be better. But
not this good.
No, not this good. I do want to talk about that later. We need to do our quarter check-in here later on. But so the Cardinals are playing right now. Jesus, they're down 4-0 to the Phillies. It's the bottom of the 8th, and I wish I wouldn't have turned that on. Yeah. So the Cardinals are being shut out tonight, 5 hits, and we just ended another show that I've recently started, and we got into the Cardinals' inconsistencies with offense, and I think I'm looking at it right now live as it's happening, and it is super frustrating. But no, we just finished up our second episode with Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast. That's the official podcast of the Cardinals Nation Facebook page. So if you're listening to our show, you're a member of that page. Check it out. I release that one every Friday morning. This week, Chris wasn't able to join. He had some dental work done, and it sounded painful. And he had a mouthful of gauze, and I'm sure some pain medication running through his system tonight. He had to sit out. So we had a couple people. We had Tara Wellman. If you're a Cardinal fan, you haven't checked out Birds on the Black, please do that. They do a really unique take on baseball. They have a lot of different people that get involved. They release something just about daily, but Chris kind of pointed me in the direction of that, so I've been absorbing it. Really good stuff, and she was a great guest to have on that show. We got to get her on here too, because I'm sure she likes to. She'd love to talk just the rivalry in general. So we'll have to get her on here. But she was a great guest, so I want to thank her. But yeah, if you haven't checked it out, we're going to release it every Friday morning. It's a Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast. Just download it like you download ours. Eventually, we might start doing live episodes. We're not there yet. We're doing audio only at this point. Well, I can't imagine doing 2 of these back-to-back live, Elliott. I don't know if I have the strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit. Let's check in on this quarter of the season right now. And before we get to our 2 teams, let's just run around the league here, because I'm looking at let's just start with the National League East, which I think right now, at least a quarter way in, I think that's the toughest division if you look at it. The Atlanta Braves, who would have thunk this? They're 10 games over 500. They're 26-16.
They are a tough team. They've got solid pitching. 2/3 of their lineup is hitting 300 or better, or 290 or better. I mean, these guys are for real. Albies, Acuna. I mean, the Cubs fans are seeing it right now. Markakis. I mean, these guys are tough outs. They are a solid team, and I hate it. Because
well, you got to figure it out comments at some point, right?
We had to live through the '90s Braves, man. I don't want to have to live through this again.
I know, it's almost like they should suck for longer just to pay.
Right.
How many division?
18, I think. I think it was something
18 in a row. I thought it was like
stupid.
15 in a row or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
That they were the NL East champions. So they got a little while. They could suck for maybe a couple more years. Let the NL Central fight it out for the NLCS the next few years.
and then reintroduce yourselves
Right.
with a booming tomahawk chop, please. But let's stay on the National League East because it doesn't really stop there. You have Philadelphia, we just mentioned, 24-16. They're at a 600 record. Right on their heels now, it looks like Washington's turned it around a bit. They swept the Diamondbacks, which kind of snuck up on me last weekend when I had it. I believe it was on Sunday Night Baseball. I could be wrong, but all of a sudden they were talking about the Washington finishing off a 4-game sweep, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what the hell happened? But they're turning around. I think by the time we all said and done with the National League East, because the Braves are young, you can expect that they'll probably level off just a bit. I still think they have a young and exciting team. I mean, they got to be looking at this kind of like Cubs fans were the first half of 2015,
right?
Where you see the people there. You know a little bit of growing pains and development has to happen, but all the talent's there that you need. If they can figure it out together, they're going to be damn tough in the years to come. Maybe even this year. Let's see. They could surprise you and they could stay on it. But right now, I think by the time we get into late in the year, I think what will happen in the National League East is what we predicted, and that's probably Washington is going to finish on top of that division. But Atlanta has a legit shot, as good as anybody, of getting into the postseason. I tell you what, if things ended right now, I mean, yeah, they would have. Am I looking at this right? They would have the Washington and Atlanta, Philadelphia. I mean, gosh, man, they could wrap up both wild cards and
right.
The title, very easy. So that's a little bit of take on the East. So let's move out west, which is surprising, but in a different way.
The Dodgers
look bad.
Dodgers look real bad. They've had some injuries. You've had Kershaw out, which is huge. But I mean, they are not playing like the Dodgers at all. I mean, they are 9 games below 500, and it does not look like it's going to get any better. I mean, the Padres almost have a better record than them.
They're right. I mean, they're right behind them.
They're right behind them. Right.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And Arizona's playing like Arizona played last year, and Colorado's hanging around that 500 mark. Just kind of like they did for a little bit last year. I mean, it'll get better for Colorado. I mean, they're a tough team, especially when you got that one guy on third base. I can't remember who his name is.
Oh, shut up! I know what it is. Arredondo. I mean, I like all the misspellings and pronunciations because nobody wanted to acknowledge him.
Nandodondo, something like that. So.
Right. I don't think the Dodgers are going to. I think they're going to recover to a point, but I don't see them in the postseason. And I know they just got Justin Turner back.
There's a lot of season left, but man, they really need to turn it around. Yeah,
I mean, they're 8 games out. San Francisco's 500, which, to be honest, I'm surprised. How is that rickety outfield? Is who's on the DL?
Well,
look it up.
If San Francisco can get through August where they're at, then they'll probably stay around where they're at. I don't see them taking off really. I mean, like a lot of aged players. So
I'll tell you what. If I look from Colorado on down, I don't know if you've noticed the run differential for a team that's over 500. It's pretty incredible. Colorado 23-20. Their run differential is -22. So that means they've had some very, very lopsided losses.
Yes.
You look down and go down to the 500 team here, San Francisco, -26. So they have a problem. It points to 2 things. Pitching has been horrendous when they've lost, or they've been shut out when they have lost. So that division is not nearly as tough as what we were predicting. But I was not predicting that LA would fall off this sharply to begin this year. We're a quarter of the way in. I don't know when, it's debatable when you get a true read on the state of a team, but I think a quarter marks pretty fair if you want to throw down judgment on performance and what you predict they're going to do. I think a quarter of the season's fair. Okay, a third of the season might be stronger.
Yeah, you can predict pretty well. I mean, at All-Star break last year, I mean, you had both the Cubs and St. Louis 2 games below 500, and they ended up taking off, towards the end of the season. Cards fell a little short. Cubs ended up with 92 wins. So
I think we brought it up on here a few times, right? And I've heard it brought up on other Cardinal podcasts, and it's a fascinating line to throw out there. Just a fact from last year. If you take away the head-to-head between Chicago and St. Louis last year, they had identical records.
Yeah.
The Cubs kept them out of the playoffs. All they had to do, well, I mean, you could say that, right? But really, that's what happened. You go 5-14 against the team. Right. 9 games was the difference. I don't know how nobody pointed that out last year. We do a damn show. We were supposed to be looking at this all the time. None of us knew that.
Well, in the Central this year, they're beating up on each other. It's going to be closer to. I feel like the head-to-heads this year between Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, and St. Louis, it's going to be more of a 500 mark, give or take a couple of games. And those couple of games,
you're talking about the head-to-heads, right?
Yeah, might be the difference in where you end up, where any of us end up in the Central at the end of the year.
You know what this might mean, man? And as much as none of us thought this was possible either, I still don't know if it is. I still think that somebody from the Central has a shot at a wild card. But I would say right now, if you made me throw down some cash on it, I think maybe only the division winner is going to the postseason.
It's possible.
For the reasons you just brought up, and that is if it is truly a black and blue and it's 500, there you go. Somebody from the East is going to sneak in.
Right. And with Washington playing better, maybe Atlanta, Philly, and Washington start beating each other up too as we get further into the year. And
I'd throw Colorado into that mix too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right now it's kind of a crapshoot. So
now that I know, still 4-0, just a game update. Okay, so I am in the Atlanta Braves market. So they're just delayed, Elliott. They're not postponed, right?
No, postponed.
Okay, mine's showing. Oh, now it updated. It's showing postponed.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, man.
Rescheduled for August 30th.
Sweet. That's my favorite day of the year. Now we got to. I want to go around baseball real quick before we go back into our teams.
Sure.
Robbie Cano. Don't you know?
Geez.
Oh, no.
80 games.
80 games, man. I wonder this. A player that has accomplished everything he has, he's been a World Series champion. Has he won an MVP? We don't have Statmaster here to look that up. Has he won? Yes, okay. MVP winner, home run derby winner, big contract, all-star, multiple years. Why? Is my question. Like, why in the hell did you even need to do it? How long has it been going on? Look, I know that my personally, we talked about this on the show I just recorded, but take that whole steroid era, right? We all get mad at that from time to time. My biggest beef with that whole era for the longest time has always been how many players never got the chance to make it because somebody ahead of them is cheating, right? I've been that way for years. Right? How many people didn't get that opportunity? That could be right. But the more you hear about what happened in that whole era, you kind of think, well, it kind of sounds like a lot more people than what I would have known or suspected were guilty of doing it. So you don't know how many were and weren't. It's really hard to say. But I look at that whole era now, Elliott, I almost don't care anymore. I don't feel robbed of, what Mark McGwire did in '98. It's still really cool to watch. I'm sure there are some Cub fans, not Pete, that hey, that was fun when Sammy was doing what he was doing. It doesn't rob how I felt then. Go up and down the list. actually don't care that Clemens was doing it. How many batters that were facing him were doing the same thing or similar things? I mean, I just don't know. So that whole era, I don't care about anymore. But now that there's a policy in place with clear rules on what you can't do, to try to get away with it now, it just really seems stupid. Like, why would you take that chance?
280 million reasons not to.
Yeah, well, he's going to lose 12 of them.
No, he's going to lose 80. No.
His suspension, they calculated 12 million.
12 million. Was it 12 million? I thought somebody said 80 million. I was like,
well,
really? That much?
I think they get paid $1 million a game.
Yeah.
That'd be the biggest contract ever. What's that?
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah. But they calculated about $12 million is what he's going to have to forfeit from sitting out half a year.
It would be crazy.
So, I mean, but it's not only that, Elliot, but it's like you've got we don't know how this Hall of Fame thing is going to work itself out in 20 years, right? But right now, you ain't getting in. You ain't getting in. You're going to have a mental asterisk next to your name now for a very long time. Yeah,
and the shitty part is you got ex-Yankee Mark Teixeira coming out and say he's not surprised by it.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's not going to help his case out at all.
No.
But anyway, my biggest thing around this, well, it's two things, right? Why the hell did you even need to do it at this point? Second, own up to it. Don't own up to it. Don't do the, hey, a doctor gave this to me. I didn't know. You have to report on everything.
You have to call. You have to call the league. You've got to, put it. Yes, it's your doctor. It's your doctor from the Dominican or whatever. But you gotta give it to the team doctor. Say, hey, can I take this? Or call them and say, let me read this. Read this medication off for you. Can I take this? Is any of this banned? Because you probably got to think some of these guys are just like, well, during those meetings, whatever. I know I'm not going to take drugs or whatever, but
well, I mean, you don't know though. You could see the instance where some of these guys that maybe it could be a language barrier. It just could be, they're so focused on what they do day in and day out that they don't pay attention.
Right.
And somebody subscribes them something, but I mean, these guys have to know that has to be a basic fundamental thing, just as much as hitting your cutoff man at this point. And that is anything you put in your body, you need to be, if it comes out of a bottle, if it's a pill, if it's anything,
anything outside of food, if it's some sort of protein or amino acids.
If it's a powder, pill, liquid, anything that you're doing that's outside of just a normal meal, I mean, it should be second nature at this point, I would think. But if you get caught now, it's pretty obvious. You did it. You knew you were doing it. You knew the rules. Just own up to it, and we can move on. I mean, that's why everybody hates Ryan Braun now, because he got a guy fired from his job, and he denied it. He went in front of TV, had a big press conference about the process, and I knew look at him now. I mean, it humbled the shit out of him as much as anybody I've ever seen.
He gets booed every time he's in Wrigley. He gets booed when the Cubs play in
Milwaukee.
In Milwaukee, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I've never seen a guy get booed in his own home crowd as much as Braun does when the Cubs play in Milwaukee. It is unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. Yeah, so enough of that. I mean, I just, it's not really worth talking about anymore. He's out. He's his own fans and that team should be more pissed at him than any of us, because look, I don't think anybody's picking Seattle to win the division, but they're 6 games over 500.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be on their way to having a decent year. And now you have this fall in your lap. And yeah, so it's
huge.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they're a half game behind the Angels, who've been playing great.
They not catching back up.
Now, we've already hit on a couple of these other things I want to touch on. Look, we both agree the Dodgers they're going to have a down year. And I think at this point or very soon, they're going to start start planning for 2019. Right this year off. Pull what the Giants do on an odd numbered year.
Here's a question now. Does Kershaw opt out at the end of this year with the injury?
I don't think so. Look at what happened. Look, the people that are going to spend money next year or after this year's over, people are going to spend money. There's targets out there already. How old's Kershaw? Does he still have what he had 2 or 3 years ago? Is he going to get that much if he hits the free agent market again? This last off season, I'd have to say, Elliott, that if that doesn't deter some people from doing that, I don't think he will. I don't think it would be wise.
Yeah, if he doesn't come back and have a strong end of the 2018 season, there is a very high likelihood that he is not going to opt out, which will then allow the Dodgers to get into that Harper Machado business next year.
Right. So, I mean, we already touched on the Braves. See, I love how I go in order on our show. Right? It just really says a lot about me and my ability to focus on anything. So over this last week, it looks like the Cardinals are going to fall short tonight, or just fall, however you want to phrase it. It's 4-2.
Uh-oh. What happened?
That deserves to pull Gamecast up. I don't know.
Box game day.
Yeah. Hey, this is great radio, by the way, Elliott. We're making the awkward pause to pull up. What was that? Was that you or me?
No, that was me.
Okay. All right. So moving on. This last week, Cardinals had let's go over the last 2 weeks because that really tells the whole story. Both Chicago teams come into St. Louis. It ends up 5-0. Twins come in, drop both. Offense didn't exist in those 2 games. I said last week, you probably would be better off bringing Memphis up for those 2 games, and it would have given them a better run. So then the Cardinals head to my favorite team, my new favorite team in baseball, and that's the San Diego Padres for a 4-game set. So you look at a team like that with the record they have in a division that's not that great right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking at a minimum you come out of that one 3-1. Well, no, you don't. You go 2-2. You start off good, as expected, and then what happens is you go ahead and drop the next 2 games, and they didn't look good dropping them. We can all accept the loss. I mean, losses happen. When you muster, 4 runs against the San Diego pitching staff over 2 games.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell? And then following that series. So, that's frustrating right there. Then they head to Minnesota. That first game in Minnesota was maybe one of the worst games I've ever seen. And I caught most of it. Not as a catcher, man. I mean, I caught it, on TV. It actually, if I would have caught that game, the score would have been much different. It would have been, it wouldn't have been Minnesota. What did they win that game? I just lost my place. It wouldn't have been Minnesota 4-1. It'd been like 21-1 if I would have caught that game. So it was 4-1 Minnesota. But what pissed me off about that game, I'm looking at it. It was in there like 1 hit. Or sorry, 2 hits. 2 hits in the whole game. And every time I looked up, a Cardinal batter was down in the count, like immediately.
A lot of first pitch strikes.
A lot of first pitch strikes, but I mean, a ton of takes. A ton of guys taking pitches that were hittable with 2 strikes. I mean, this has been something. If you've been watching things that are happening in St. Louis with fan communities like the couple I'm involved in, if you're looking at media bloggers, podcasters, everybody I've been listening to or reading, everybody's yelling for John Mabry's head. Everybody, but a lot of people, enough people are yelling for hitting coach. I certainly think he's responsible for the approach, maybe the strategy.
And that's the thing is that you can get upset with, because usually there's a strategy and the reason behind the strategy of either being aggressive, first pitch in the counts. There's certain pitchers who throw a lot of first pitch strikes, fastballs. So you tend to be more aggressive with those guys than
Well, you know what, and the last show I did right before this one, Tara Wellman brought up a great point, and that was, what we're seeing is, I think, a failure to make adjustments in game. They're just doing the same things over and over and over again. So it's really, you ask Cardinal fans what, there's a question thrown out from the Facebook community. What is the Cardinals hitting approach? Like, that's good. That's a great question, because none of us know. I mean, truly none of us know. And they're not making adjustments. They are consistently down in the counts. They look like they take the same exact swing every time, no matter where the ball's pitched. And it ain't working. It ain't working. And and just when you get mad enough, they'll come out in the next game and put up 7 runs like they did the last game against the Twins. And then they'll do what they have done, at least up to this point tonight, where, it was a shutout until what's going on right now, which I'm going to check back in on that.
Pedro Florman homers on a fly ball to right center.
2. Son of a bitch. What happened? Who is
Homer?
That? Who the hell is that?
I have no idea who Pedro Florman.
Get out of here. I told you I shouldn't even turn this stuff on, man. Can't watch game. All right, enough of that shit. That's going down. So it looks like the Cardinals are probably going to drop this one tonight against the Phillies. But as we've been talking about, the Phillies were tougher than what we thought. Back to the Cardinals hitting, which has been frustrating. We have 4 bats, Elliott, 4 that have just they've gone all bad at the same time, and you've felt that before, right?
Yeah. It's still kind of feeling it a little bit too. There is some life with Rizzo, and now he's kind of flailing again. So I'm not sure what to think about that. So I feel like just when he gets comfortable, he starts pressing again and taking a lot of pitches down the middle that I think he's been swinging at, and then swinging at pitches out of the zone. So, and then Baez is back to the Soriano look, where he's all you got to do is throw a couple of sliders off the plate, and he's swinging
the plate, blowing away. Yeah,
blowing away.
That's been a formula for so many guys. I mean, scouting report on Grichuk, that's where you throw it. Seen a lot of players in the history of this, they can't handle that pitch net, nor can they lay off of it. It kind of floats up there, and they think they've got it, and they're out on their front foot, and they're waving at it.
Yeah.
Rizzo, so he's just under 200. He's probably getting closer to his body weight. But you got some averages on here, that are lower than what I would think they would be at. Actually, Baez being in the 260s, I wouldn't think that that's too far off the norm.
No, it's just that he was at 3.0, like 305, and it's slowly kind of come down.
Yeah,
he's regressing to his mean, but
his mean's fine. His mean's fine for what he does for them. If he's gonna spot start at short, play second base, and really good defense, and he's gonna give you some pop every once in a while, I'd be happy with Baez around that mark right now. Well, maybe not immediately right now. He's been performing recently, but
right. It's just that he was seeing the ball so well, and he was laying off those sliders to the down and away, and now it's just like he's kind of lost it a little bit, and so maybe it's the season's kind of like a roller coaster with him. He'll get hot again, and he'll see the ball well and take some. That's the thing. I don't think he's taken a walk since last month. So,
well, I think with a player like Baez, what you would hope is that the extreme cold and extreme hot, that you don't mind the extreme hot periods, right? You enjoy that. What you would hope is that he can short circuit some of those extreme colds where he
limit them,
maybe
make adjustments and then get hot again.
Right. And the thing is, if I were you guys, how I'd feel about him is that he's shown improvement in other areas, so many other areas, that you would have to have hope that he can improve in this one too. And so I think he's still got, to me, Baez still has a lot of upside. He still has a lot of room to grow, but he has a lot of upside. So I wouldn't be my worry. I'd love for my second baseman to be hitting 266 right now. Guys are well below their weight. Trust me. Carpenter and Fowler, the question that I pose right now, they're both batting around 140 in the 140s. I think by the time they hit that second game, between the first and second game, Minnesota. Question is, when are they going to bottom out? Because sometimes it takes that to end up turning it around. Neither of those guys are going to hit an elite level this year, but if they can just at least get back to somewhat of a league average, then
they got a lot. They got a lot of work to do, especially after. What are we at? Excuse me. that one kind of caught me a little bit.
Yeah, that
off.
one just sure.
We're about 50 games in.
40 something,
154 and 164. Yeah, a lot of work to do.
Yeah, a lot of work. Yeah, no, they do. They do. Now, the thing is, I have to look at how they had the lineup set tonight. But finally, yesterday, I looked at the lineup and they had Carpenter batting 7th. I think that was a couple weeks too late. I think they should have done it before because
definitely
to keep running him out there and the position in the lineup he was in, I just thought was just like stubborn. But that has Mike Matheny written all over it. He's batting back in the order again tonight behind Jed Jerko. Fowler's batting 5th. Well, you know what? He's batting 5th right now because they don't. What other option do they have?
Right.
Cardinal fans are saying, hey, you know what? DFA these guys. Trade them. Well, first of all, you ain't gonna get anything. You owe Fowler a lot of money. You owe Carpenter a decent chunk of change. They are going to play. First of all, they're not going to fix themselves by being benched, right? So you do have to play them.
No, yes.
What you change is how you deploy them out there in the lineup. And so I'm actually glad to see Matheny finally do it, but I just think he needed to do it a few weeks ago. This guy was clearly not swinging the bat well, looked lost, looked overpowered, outmatched. Let's see how he's done today. He's 1 for 3 tonight. He's up to 164. He's getting closer to his body weight. I think that's a shame factor, right? When you're finishing below it.
Yeah. I think Hayward's hitting his body weight right now. So
well, that's good. For you.
227.
Yeah. So anyway, we had a big conversation last week about the Cardinals offense too, and how much of this responsibility actually should fall on the hitting coach. And we've touched on it here. Look, given what the Cardinals did to their coaching staff last year, I mean, midseason in June, you demoted your third base coach, made a switch on the bench. Off season, you unloaded your pitching, the whole coaching staff for the pitchers and the bullpen catcher and all that. All of them are gone. And you brought in new faces. You brought Okendo back. You brought Willie McGee back. It's a natural question right now, given the way their offense has performed. I mean, one of the last and one of the bottom of the National League in runs scored, bottom in batting average. I mean, look at go across all the offensive statistics. The Cardinals are on the bottom, near the bottom on just about all of them. So it's a natural question, and Mike Matheny, nobody should be getting offended. Why is John Mabry immune to this? I find it hard to believe that he's not aware that some pressure is going to be on him. I don't know if any conversations would have been had or any sit downs would have been had with John Mozeliak or Gersh or even Matheny himself. I know Mabry's one of Matheny's boys, so maybe that doesn't happen. But John Mabry's he hasn't, as far as I know, as far as what I hear, what I see, he hasn't had the same. He hasn't been held to the same standard. Let me just put it that way.
Right.
So the offense has been inconsistent. It's been frustrating for this is if it continues this year, it'll be 3 years in a row. So just curious to see how this is going to work, and is it end up being somewhat of a package deal? Like you really don't get rid of him until you get rid of Matheny. I just don't know. It is a little baffling. Now I'm not out here headhunting for John Mabry. I don't care because he's not batting for these guys. And really at this level, is he really need to work with them instructional one-on-one with Matt Carpenter? These professional guys have been doing this. They have the skill set. We know that. But to set the tone, the approach, the strategy, I would look at the hitting coach for that.
Right. And this is the first time we've seen Carpenter like this, I'd
say last year we saw him like it too, though. So it's gone on more than just this year.
This
bad, you're right. This
bad.
Yeah.
Right. This is a major drop off to where they are normally at. sometimes, these guys will start a little cold in the beginning of the year, but it usually takes them a few weeks. They get into it. The weather gets warmer. They start hitting better. But when the hitting stays the same and there's no adjustments made and you continually see the same kind of at-bats throughout the year, something needs to be tweaked, something either with the mechanics, up between their ears. Something's got to happen, because when these guys career-wise have been hitting between 280 and 300, there's something wrong. And to see both Fowler and Carpenter hitting like this, it's got to kind of give you an idea that there's something going on that these guys maybe aren't doing, or I'm not sure. I mean, to see both of them struggling like this, it's pretty odd for even me to see it as an outsider, as a Cubs fan. So
yeah, I mean, Colton Wong probably is not as surprising, but his numbers are pretty bad right now too. I think he's found more games than not. He's been on the bench. He's on the bench again tonight. It looks like looks like maybe a pinch hit opportunity, or maybe even as a pinch runner. I'm just looking at it here as a replacement for in the 9 spot at some point in the game. So he wasn't playing again tonight. That's kind of been a 3 years in a row thing where he hasn't been able to secure win, give confidence to management that he can hold down that second base job and bring a consistent game, not only to the plate but to defense. Which defense hasn't been that's not been his problem this year. It's been at the plate. So Marcell Ozuna is not immune from this either. He's hitting 244. That's not awful, but it's not awful by today's standards. But he's not been the middle of the order presence that they were trading for. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, not what they were looking for at all.
And I'll say this, Ozuna was in a lineup last year where you had a guy like Bohr, Real Muto, Yelich, Stanton.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in that lineup right now. And I'm wondering how much of an impact that could possibly have on him. So are we seeing the previous Marcell Ozuna, prior to 2017? Is that really the guy he is? Does he need players like that around him? It's just, I think it's a fair question. I brought it up before the season started. He doesn't have those bats around him anymore. So is this what you're going to get?
It might be different if Carpenter is hitting 285.
Yeah.
He might be seeing more pitches. Right.
Right.
Both Fowler and Carpenter. I mean, he's probably not getting pitches because he doesn't have to. So yeah,
Wong is at bat right now as we speak. That's why I'm seeing his name pop up here. He's batting 182. So you got 4 guys right there that you needed to at least be average. If they were average, we wouldn't be talking about this. But they're falling well under average, and so it is a concern. You have this many people going this bad simultaneously. I am shocked that they went into tonight 6 games over 500.
Yeah,
which points at pitching.
Right, and you've gotten very good pitching.
Very good pitching, and quite frankly, from a couple surprising sources. Miles Michaelis, who, really somebody coming from a different league, even though he had been here before, I understand that, but he went to Japan for a reason. He didn't do that well over here.
Right.
You don't really know what you're going to get when they come back. But he has been my surprise player for the Cardinals. And Bud Norris is a close second.
But I was going to say, Bud Norris is like my surprise guy, like overachieving. So, Cardinals trying to make this interesting. 2 on, no out.
Yeah.
Tommy Pham up.
He can't tie it up. He can bring him close though.
And so I want to talk about tonight the best defensive
Yes, that
fielder
that is a topic. The best defender in baseball.
Major League Baseball. Not best left fielder, not just best outfielder. Best outfielder on all of best defender in all of baseball. No.
Okay, let's
I saw this.
Give us the deep. No, I know, man. It's I love one of the response. I'm gonna bring it up because he helped he helped host the Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast last week. Well, he was one of our first guests. So his name is Larry. He had a pretty funny response to that. I believe Pete put that up there, right?
Yeah, because he is leading in UZR. What over 150 at 28.1. He is
whatever the hell that stat is.
Tied with Jose Ramirez of Cleveland.
Yeah. So here we go. So Pete posted that up. This one will drive Ron nuts. # statistical anomaly. At least, Pete's throwing that in there at least. The response from a Cardinal fan, and this Cardinal fan likes to stir the pot. Hold on, this isn't the right one. Oh well, this one was just a picture that said just shows Kyle Schwarber face down in the grass with Ivy behind him with a ball rolling somewhere. That's not the comment I was looking for. The other,
I will pull out that Colton Wong face plant,
which is better. Honestly, if I'm being honest about it, that picture was. I'm disappointed. I don't see it, but anyway, I don't want to.
So for anybody who doesn't know what UZR is, UZR is an advanced defensive metric that uses play-by-play data recorded by Baseball Info Solutions to estimate a fielder's defensive contribution in theoretical runs above or below an average fielder at his position in that player's league and year. So it's kind of an all-around metric. You take a whole bunch of stats and you put them together to get a person's UZR. So and apparently Kyle Schwarber is leading all players in this metric. Now, I will say he has thrown out a whole lot of people at the plate this year.
Well, I think there are people testing him too, right?
And they continue to do it, and they continue to get thrown out. Which you got to remember, Schwarber was a catcher. The guy can throw. So
right.
And ladies and gentlemen, Pete will be joining us shortly.
Momentarily, good. So we have to hold on a little bit longer. No, damn it, I can't find that quote. Larry's quote response on all this was, "What? The Cubs have fans before 2015?"
Okay, come on.
Well, I started responding to that. I'm like, well, I at least knew two of them. I knew two of them before 2015, and they were Cub fans. But I decided not to defend Pete on our own show.
I know the Cardinals sell out a lot of their games, but guess who else does? Guess who else has a lot of fans that comes to their games, even though it's in a big market? Yes, I understand, but the Cubs do. You know who doesn't that is also in a big market? The White Sox. They do not.
Well, that's such a fun ballpark really to visit.
God, it's depressing.
All right.
You get out of a White Sox game and you go to Wrigleyville. I know they're trying to make it better down there, so
we're trying to get our guy on here. He has notified me that he's ready. He's done dicking around.
Oh, I think I got something blinking.
Yep. There's the man right there. We'll hit the button and we'll see if we can get
just in time too. So
right. Just in time as I was getting ready to wrap up in like 15 minutes. So that's cool. We want to get his take on the Cano thing as long as he doesn't overdo it.
Cano and the best defensive fielder in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, that's right. All
right.
There he is. There's the man himself.
Hey, boys.
Hey.
Howdy.
What'd I miss?
We were just talking about the best defensive outfielder in baseball.
Oh, The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Really, you're gonna ruin it. You know, we were having a flow here. It was going well. Yes, we were talking about the best defender in Major League Baseball, not just left fielders, not just National League, not just National League Central, but all of baseball. Kyle Schwarber.
I see it.
Yeah. So, Pete, I want to go back a little bit because you missed quite a you missed a few things that we want to hear your take on it.
Sure.
So I'm going to do some rewind here. I'm going to go back to we were looking around baseball, and the first thing that would pop up are Robbie Cano.
Oh,
let's just hear what you got to say about that.
I forget about any consideration of the Hall of Fame. He's done. And I actually read a pretty good article this week that this kind of puts into context exactly why it is that he didn't end up with the Yankees. The Yankees were concerned because his best friends on the team were Melky Cabrera and Alex Rodriguez, and both of them got popped. And so the Yankees made a half-hearted attempt to sign him, knowing that it would be rejected. He went out on the market, and a few years later, here we are. Stunning. In fact, as evidenced by the fact that when I texted you that he had popped, you were like, wait, what? So I think that's a pretty good indicator.
Hold on. That was like 42 seconds.
Yeah.
What the hell, man? All right. So, no, my biggest question is, well, one, just own up to it. This is ridiculous. We've seen this before. We've seen, Palmeiro do it. We've seen Ryan Braun do it. Alex Rodriguez deny that they had any wrongdoing. It's pretty clear at this point. Clear at this point.
Did you go through exactly what the process is when they pop for a masking agent?
Yeah, because this happened in spring training, correct?
This happened before spring training. This happened while he was home in the Dominican.
Right.
He popped. And so the investigation started in spring training. And the way that the rules are written is that you pop for a masking agent, which is what this was. This was a diuretic. You pop for a masking agent, then the independent arbitrator gets brought in and he does an investigation to determine if he thinks that the masking agent was being taken to hide PED use. And he determined that it was, as did Major League Baseball. And that's where the suspension comes in. And it's pretty clear that he did it because the MLBPA dropped their grievance. So if they're not going to grieve this, if they're not going to stand up for him, he's got no legs to stand on.
He probably told his rep, hey, I was taking it, so there's no sense in fighting it.
I don't know, man. He was planning to appeal. That's the report anyway. What are you looking at there, Elliott?
Cardinals lose.
Yeah. What's the final score? Last I saw it was 4-2.
6-2.
Shut up.
6. And you know what? With the Cubs rain out, that means that the Cardinals are alone in 4th place.
Yay. What separates us? A half game? Or is this percentage points?
No, it's half game.
No,
I'm sure it's
headphones
percentage.
are really loud.
It's half game. What's that?
My headphones are really loud. I heard all that.
Oh, good. That's the intent.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a done deal now because I had turned it off. Well,
what else did I miss?
The Dodgers.
Oh my God,
they're bad.
They're real
not
bad.
gonna make the playoffs.
Nope. No way.
Did you see the latest? I think it was Fangraphs said that their chance of making the playoffs is below 50%. Not winning the division, making the playoffs.
Yeah. They're not going to.
No
way.
Yeah.
No way. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't rule out Colorado to push on Arizona just a bit, but I think that's Arizona's division at this point. Pete, we also talked about the NL East and a little surprising there. I mean, I know we're only a quarter away into the season, but I feel that a quarter away into the season is still
pretty
not. It's not an unfair time to look at a team and go, in or out. And I think that is
well, yeah.
Really,
I mean, if looking directly at the NL East, the The Mets have already lost 2 of their starting pitchers, so that's a pretty good indicator for the normal season. So a quarter of the way in, the Mets have lost their pitchers. Yeah, we know what the NL East is.
Lost one of them to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say they really lost him, but
who pitched great.
they basically adopted a dog, didn't like it, and left it in northern Kentucky.
Yeah,
or Cincinnati, whatever you want to refer to it as.
Technically in Cincinnati.
The national, it's basically Kentucky.
Why you got to put Kentuckians down like that?
Yeah,
because Ron's bitter because he can't watch Cardinals games.
That's fucking still stupidest thing I've ever heard. So Atlanta, I know we brought it up last week too, but they still, 10 games over 500. Pete, you probably been catching a little bit more of Atlanta since Chicago's been there, although they did get postponed tonight to August 30th, which is my favorite day. You've been obviously you're paying a little bit more attention there. So how do you feel about the Braves? They might not. They're not going to play the whole year like this. They're not going to finish 40 games over 500. But they to me, looking at a team like this, they've got just a couple things missing. Obviously, pitching is going to be one of them. But I'd have to feel a little bit. Maybe I misspoke earlier, Elliott, when I said Cubs fans in the front half of 2015. Probably more like Cubs fans in 2014. Yeah. Look if you're a Braves fan, I imagine they're feeling a little bit the same way.
2014, I think.
Yeah. I would say that's what they look like.
Yeah, and the scary thing is that they still have more down on the farm that they have available. It won't all play for the Braves. I mean, if they sense that they are in position to make a move, you'll see some of those prospects go elsewhere. Yeah,
they should. Well, we've talked about it on here a million times. That's why you build a system like that. They're not all going to be there. You don't plan on them all being there, and you got to move some of them. I brought this up on recorded a show right before this one, and brought up the very same thing that
I can't wait to hear how much of a dirge that show was. You guys couldn't have been happy.
No, in fact, our friend Chris had some dental work done today.
Oh,
had to have a tooth pulled, and is got a mouthful of gauze and on pain meds. He couldn't be there tonight, so I had to have one of the other guys that's on the page, pretty good friends and Grid guy. He sat in for Chris tonight, and we had another guest on. But we had brought up the same thing about these minor league teams like this. Even the Cardinals, we don't want to see, it sucks to see some of the injuries they have right now. And boy, they've had a lot of them over 1 week. But they still have a good problem, and that is they have a lot of arms. Not all of them are ready. I mean, not all of them are ready to go. But my point is, they have these things to be able to deal for things that they do need. Now. And the Braves would certainly, you're right. If they think they can make a run at it this year with that young core, but why not? Why not? Because this is how organizations screw this stuff up: is they hold on to these guys too long, stuff them down in the minor leagues, block progress, they lose value, and then
you got to get these guys the experience. The younger you get them any kind of playoff experience, the better. The better they're going to do the next year, especially if they continue to make playoffs. And we've seen this firsthand. So you got to keep taking those steps to get these guys ready for the big time.
And also just giving
that's October, November baseball.
And also your evaluations are more valid at that point. You can evaluate guys at AA or AAA. It's not the same as evaluating them against major league pitching or major league hitting.
Right.
Yeah, and Pete, before we walk totally away from the Dodgers, because we did prematurely here, because we needed Pete, Clayton Kershaw, is he opting out?
I don't know. I mean, based on, he's injured, right? And he now has a history of injury.
Yeah, that's right.
Is anybody going to want to plunk down more than $35 million to pull him away from the Dodgers? And are the Dodgers going to bid against themselves? If he opts out, are the
Cardinals just lost the game, right?
They did.
Here we go.
This is going to be fun.
Oh.
I can officially say I'm sad to be a Cardinal fan.
B, I answered on the wrong device. Call right back. Call right back.
We heard him.
I know, but I answered the pad instead of the phone, so he wouldn't be able to hear you.
Oh, okay.
That didn't take long, did it?
No. He's got that thing on lockdown.
Can officially say I'm sad to be a Cardinal fan.
Oh, you can't officially say that, can you? I guess you can. There's nothing stopping you.
We scored 2 runs. 2.
Against who?
How?
Is it a pitcher they've never faced? Is it a no-name? Because that doesn't surprise me. In fact, if I was going into a series in St. Louis, I'd pull up every minor league pitcher temporarily that has never thrown against St. Louis before, and that's probably the secret to success.
I'm actually glad that the Cubs game got rained out for precisely
because it was going to be a pitcher that
the bench warmers.
So,
Go out there and play.
If you had 162 guys make their
offensive
debut
baseball.
against St. Louis all year long, they wouldn't win a fucking game. Sorry, Braden. Sorry.
Hey, Braden, you know, if you're so sad being a Cardinals fan, there's plenty of room on the Cubs bandwagon.
I would trust the bench warmers to win. Score more runs than the Cardinals in a freaking MLB game. The offense has been dreadful. It has been more dry than a really, really dry chicken that your grandma makes, and it's not good. Terrible.
Oh, Grandma Nuddle.
Terrible.
Brian, I don't know if he's talking about. My mom doesn't make anything.
Exactly.
Oh man, you just insulted Grandma.
It has been.
Put some gravy on that chicken, but
He gets in a rage like this. He's not even hearing me. He's just gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to baseball players, if you want to be really good at defense, just gain some weight because Bartolo Colon, 102-mile-an-hour line drive to the belly, didn't even hurt him.
Didn't even hurt him. Okay. That's your injury prevention advice.
put on weight.
Just gain some weight, get a belly on you.
Okay.
Did you see that clip?
No, I have not. I missed it.
Play it. Just need to.
I don't have the ability to right now. I can't do it fast enough. We're in the middle of talking about how Clayton Kershaw is probably not going to opt out of his contract. Pete, and I agree with what you were saying. And one, injury history. Two, if he didn't take notice to what happened this last offseason, you have to be much more frightened about turning things down that are guaranteed.
Yep.
The other is people that are going to be willing to spend money this offseason are not right now. They're not. I don't know any executives right now that are formulating a strategy plan like we're going to get Kershaw. That's where we're going to allocate our dollars. We're going to wait on that. Hell no. The people are going to spend heavy money and looking at Machado, Harper, whoever else that might be down there. Right now, I don't think anybody's banking on the fact that Kershaw is going to opt out. Sure as hell aren't going to pay him $35 million a year.
Nope.
So he's going to be a Dodger. Dodger fans, don't fret. He's going to be there.
Well, in kind of speaking on Machado a little bit, that Machado to the Cubs rumor is happening again.
You know what? We didn't touch on that last week. Shame on us because that's one thing I wanted because that was coming up so much. Makes sense. We didn't talk about it.
And the rumors are now they've kind of elevated a little bit that Machado is the number one guy that the Cubs have been talking about going after. After all this Bryce Harper talk, now it seems like gears have shifted a little bit, and it's shifted to Manny Machado.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you guys. I'm not going to be able to continue the podcast after the trade deadline because I've been hired by the Cubs front office.
That's, you know what, Elliott, we laugh. That is exactly how he would tell his employer. That same.
Oh,
that exact same tone. Like, I'm sorry, but as I told you before.
No.
No.
No,
you would be sad.
Oh no, I would not be sad.
Oh, okay. Let's stop. Let's leave that right there.
He gets hired by the Cubs. We're doing a podcast right then, and he's going to announce it to the world.
Yeah. I would suggest doing it on a real medium.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
No, but
You have school tomorrow?
Dad, what sound am I making? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
That's the sound of the baseball going past St. Louis Cardinal
That's
bats.
what sound the offense has been making.
All right, Braden. Hey, last question for you. How is your MLB 18 the show season progressing right now? How many have you played since last week?
I think it'll probably take me about an hour to delete all the ones that I haven't that I should have. So I have about 200 applications right now.
Hold on. Wait,
what?
What happened? Braden, how many seasons have you played?
I don't delete the ones that I quit playing, so I have like 50 million seasons right now.
Okay, so you have to delete them before you can continue. Is that what you're telling me? I don't understand this gaming.
No, it's just because every single time I want to get to a season, I'm scrolling down so much I can't even find it because I have so many.
Well, delete some of them. You're a hoarder, man. You are.
Will.
You don't get rid of anything. Remember your stuffed animals were like, Braden, you should probably donate these or something. I keep that. I had that sometimes. You are a hoarder, dude. He's gonna be on that TV show in 20 years.
I don't delete my files.
My son's a hoarder.
That's being a hoarder, my friend.
It is being a hoarder. You're a hoarder, Braden. You're even a digital hoarder.
I am.
Well, it's unlimited space.
All right.
The Cubs series. We wanted a sweep in Busch against the Cubs so bad. Every inch that it took of hard work, every single category, pitching, batting, everything. We took every ounce to beat them, and we're just dead now. Like dead. We're just flat out dead.
Yes.
After the Cubs series.
I agree. And you have school tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's my last day of the year.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
That's amazing.
But you hit the hay. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right.
I wanted to complain more, Dad.
Well,
You're cutting me off.
hopefully the offense wakes up.
We'll see tomorrow night. Hey,
Because right now it's sleeping.
When do they face Arrieta? I know they do. Hang on. They face him.
Are they?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, flat.
Yeah, tomorrow night. Tomorrow night.
I bet you my whole PlayStation he won't smile the whole game.
I'm not taking that bet because, you'd be right.
I'm confident in that.
Now, and the Cardinals stand a better chance against him because they've seen him before. So Philadelphia would probably be wise to shift like some random long relief bullpen pitcher that they've never faced. And it probably shut him down. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you tomorrow night. Love you.
All right, love you.
Bye.
Bye.
How many times did I ask him if he's got school tomorrow?
He ignored it at least
ignored
4
it 3
times.
times. Yeah. I love that kid. And he knows exactly what he's doing. Yep. All right. So, yes, where we left off, Clayton Kershaw is staying in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
right? That's where we left off?
Yeah.
All right. So, and he is a hoarder, by the way.
Doesn't throw anything away?
No. You have to sneak it away.
And he probably doesn't notice that it's gone either, huh?
Oh, he does. But at that point, it's too late.
Yep.
So a little bit more on the Cardinals, Elliott, that we hadn't got to that I was going to touch on, and that was just the immunity, it seems, that Cardinal fans feel about John Mabry. He has this immunity idol. Because what the Cardinals did last year, they shuffled up. They demoted their third base coach, made a change on and bench coach. They off season they got rid of all the pitching coaches and the bullpen coach, and they replaced all those. Brought Oquendo back, brought Willie McGee in, which I'm still not totally clear on what his role is there, but John Mabry has remained, and that offense is, lack of a better term, it's been shit from going on almost 3 years now. Inconsistent mess. It sooner or later, I don't put 100% of the blame on a hitting coach. I mean, these guys are Major League Baseball players. They do this for a living. They have the skill set. We know they're capable. I put most of it on him just for their approach and their strategy, which has been terrible. Every time I look up, I feel like their players are down in the count almost instantly. So is it a matter of time? I know he's best friends with the coach or manager. So that's been a real hot topic in, amongst Cardinal fans. You see it in the media, you see it in writing and everything. So it's just how much of the blame do you guys for your own team when you went through spells anywhere similar to this? How much do you look at your coaches and say, we need to change here? And at what point do you actually scream for it?
E, you want to take this one first?
It's tough. I mean, I guess it really depends on what you see. So a lot of the times with hitting, it's really hard to look at it because, one, you don't know. A lot of times you don't know what the coaching style is of a hitting coach and what they're actually working on unless it's reported on or you hear them talk about it. So can you blame, John Maley for Jason Hayward's problems when you have the rest of the hitting, the players out there hitting?
I'd say no at that point.
Do you blame Chili Davis because he wasn't able to correct what John Maley was doing before? Do you blame Chili Davis for what's going on with Rizzo, where what we've never seen before with him hitting so bad, this first part of the year? I don't know. A lot of times you can go and you can look at pitching's a little bit differently. So because there's a game plan there, and if you're throwing first strikes to a team that's very aggressive, then yeah, you're kind of taking the wrong approach there. That's why you're probably getting killed at the beginning of a game. So I mean, it's kind of subjective, really. It is. So, and I know people. I know the biggest thing that people get on with the Cubs is they get on Joe Madden, the tinkering. We've talked about it. We've beaten the dead horse. And a lot of people blame the struggles for the Cubs because of the tinkering, and a lot of people are like, hey, it doesn't matter.
You know what?
These
but
guys
I don't.
are professional players. They hit where they hit. They're going to field. If they can play multiple positions, then they shouldn't have a problem switching every single day.
Well, the thing I wouldn't fault him for, and that is if something's not working, make adjustments. I mean,
right. And
you should be doing that from at bat to at bat, but I can't look. I mean, we talked last week. You guys asked me, Pete, you asked me the question, how much does this affect you when you don't have a clear understanding what your role is day in, day out? But I think these guys are smart enough to be like, hey, look, if our offense as a collective isn't working, and if there's some adjustments and shifts that are made in the order, if they don't understand that, I really don't know what to say.
And one thing is always consistent. It's only the everyday players where you see the tinkering. You do not see tinkering with the pitchers. The pitchers have their set roles for the most part until you give Madden a reason not to trust you anymore. Then that's when you don't see the ball. That's when you don't come out during either high leverage situations or you're coming in for mop up. So that really doesn't change a whole lot. But I tell you what, I don't freaking understand why Edwards came out the other night against the two guys that he gave up hits and runs to against Acuna and Albies the other night in the same freaking situation. As soon as Edwards came in, I'm like, why? I'm like, it didn't work last night. Why do you think it's going to work tonight? And I don't know.
Elliott, you just explained it. Guys get into or out of Joe's doghouse, and he does or does not rely on them. And he seems to be a pretty stubborn guy. I mean, we've seen that.
Yeah.
He's not going to be second guessed about it. He refuses to back down from what he thinks is right, even though it proves wrong again and again and again. It's hard to fault him too.
Like every other manager, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, we are more sensitive to it because we pay close attention to our team and assume that every other team in baseball is doing well. I wouldn't realize just how much the Cardinals offense is struggling if I wasn't, constantly scrolling through a Twitter feed that's pretty evenly split between the Cubs and the Cardinals, and seeing all these Cardinals fans panicking over the offense's lack of punch.
Well, I think they're justified in doing it, though. I mean, when you have, I just brought up it sounds like your context for the example you gave isn't the same as mine, and that's probably based on fact. But when you have as many players as we do right now that are hitting awful, I mean, once in a while you get a guy like this who goes a quarter of the way into the season and is batting in the 100s. We have like 3, and they're supposed to be key parts of the offense. And the fourth one, while the average doesn't look god awful, is supposed to be your impact bat that you brought in the middle of the lineup. None of those are working. And Pete, I mentioned it earlier. I'm still shocked that they entered before tonight. They entered tonight 6 games over 500, and I really scratched my head to figure out why.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and Carpenter's pretty clearly injured. There's something wrong.
But he didn't look yesterday. If you would have seen yesterday, they moved him. Finally, they moved him back in the lineup. He hit 7th last,
and then
night.
pinch hit for him. With
Tonight,
the game on the line, they pinch hit for him.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, that's progress, but it doesn't sound like he's 100% healthy. The one that baffles me, and this is where I don't know if it's necessarily the hitting coach, is Marcell Ozuna. He's only been there for 40 games. Like, it's not like he's a Mabry, it's a Mabry study, right?
Right.
It's one thing if you're somebody who has been under Mabry's tutelage for the last 3 years or so. It's another thing when you just got there. Like, Marcell Ozuna has a history as a hitter. The fact that he's hitting, I think it's 622 OPS is ridiculous. He's a negative WAR player right now.
Well, the thing is, Elliott and I talked about this earlier. We touched on it, and that is, in the case of Ozuna, look who he was surrounded by last year. And by the way, last year was his best year. But you have guys like Real Muto, Bohr, Yelich, Stanton in your lineup.
That's
how much of that? How much of that played a factor? Right now, he has nothing similar to that. I mean, nothing.
That's a great point.
You have Tommy Pham and you had Jose Martinez, and that's pretty much it because you haven't had Yachty for better part of a week, more than a week now. So he does a player like him. Does it take him to have certain parts around him to get him to perform as best he can? And when he doesn't, is he pressing and trying to do too much to carry the load? I mean, we just don't know. I've only experienced him for 40 games as well, so it's hard to tell. But up to this point, you can say that hasn't worked. But how much of that has been attributed to the guys around him who haven't hit worth a shit, with the exception of Pham and Martinez? So, and neither one of those guys. Well, Martinez isn't exactly like scorching the ball. I mean, he's not a league leader in any category. He's been solid. I mean, he deserves to be in the everyday lineup. He is at times been a defensive liability, but that has nothing to do with the offense. So there are a lot more questions right now than answers for the Cardinals and their everyday starting 8.
I think that's a great point you brought up about who Ozuna was surrounded by last year. He's only 27, so he's a relatively young guy, and he's never been the guy. And looking at this lineup,
not when you have a Stanton in your lineup.
No.
Right.
And looking at this Cardinals lineup, both when he was added and now, I think everybody expected him to be the guy.
Yeah, he hasn't been yet.
And right. And I wonder if, maybe he's struggling under that pressure.
I think I would have to really be sold on why that wouldn't be a reason. So we'll see, man. They still don't have that guy, and I've been saying that now for 2+ years. They still don't have it. But with the good problem I believe they have, and that is an excess of still talented outfield in the minor league system, a lot of arms. They have what is necessary to bring something in that they need. And depending on who they would select and choose, they could pay a little bit more, they could pay a little bit less. Guys, don't even ask me about Machado. I wouldn't even want them to do it, because not that I wouldn't want Manny Machado on my squad. He's going to be here for 2 months and then gone. So I don't want to see them spend it on somebody you have no hope of retaining, and they have no hope of retaining him. So they won't come up in the conversation. Writers won't be writing that that's a key destination. It would be more along the lines of a Josh Donaldson, not a Machado. So
he'll be in articles as a makes sense for,
right? But a likely destination, no, he shouldn't be there.
Even though you guys have everything that is necessary to land him.
Yes, but no hope of securing him long term, and without that, they can't do a deal like that.
Yeah, and I see the same thing developing for the Cubs.
Yeah,
I have no problem cutting bait on Addison Russell right now. He's just not showing enough to justify all the faith that everybody has in him.
Yeah,
but if you're only going to if you're going to cut bait on Addison Russell, and you're going to have to throw in probably 2 major league quality players, whether or not they're on the roster, in order to land Machado for half a season with no guarantee that you're going to get him, that's a bridge too far. If they knew they could keep him, yeah, then I could get behind it. But you don't want to leave a hole in your infield, just because you wanted to make a run on a impact player, but who's going to leave at the end of the year?
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this, because I'm obviously, I don't know the first thing about what's in the Cubs system as far as infield prospects. So if Addison Russell were to go down, who would step into shortstop? I know Baez is a solution.
They'd slide Baez over, and Listella would get it. But Listella and Zobrist would split the starts at second.
Yeah, with a little bit.
But guys, listen. You wouldn't want to go into 2019 with that, right?
No. But they have a shortstop prospect who's not a 2019, probably 2020 or 2021 Adaman, who they're pretty high on, and he's obviously potential solution long term.
Okay, so all right, I think that I don't know how much the Cubs have depleted their minor leagues with the acquisitions of Quintana, Chapman, anybody else that they've traded for. So I don't know what they have left. I'm assuming it's not like they've emptied the cupboard.
They've got some solid,
but it's thinner, right?
Yeah. Well, they're 2 or 3 years away.
Yeah.
Minimum.
So I would think that a deal with Machado, I mean, obviously, Russell's a name that's going to make sense. I don't know if the Orioles agree, but it's a name that would make sense. That's got to be one. I would think there'd be more pieces that would have to come off the major league roster to make something like that happen. Do you guys think at all that your self-titled Last Jedi would have to be a part of that?
No,
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't think the Orioles
would? They're looking for pitching.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, yeah, you're right. The Cardinals would have what it would take to actually land him, but knowing that your chances of retaining him are slim to none, they won't make that deal. So that this will never be. It will not get anywhere in St. Louis. Not going to fool myself.
I think you're going to end up seeing him go to a team that knows that they're not going to land him, but that feels that they have a legitimate shot at making a World Series run.
Well, who would that be?
Braves?
Who would that be? I don't know, man. You
certainly have what's necessary to get him.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, you spend this many years restocking, getting yourself set up, and you want long-term sustain. I guess it depends on what Baltimore is going to end up asking for. Now, the thing working for everybody is that owner is stubborn as a freaking mule, and every day he waits is less value he's going to get in return. So if they made him available right now, and he may be, you're going to get more than you will for a 2-month rental, I think.
Yeah.
So,
but the one team that makes the most sense.
I don't see the Braves making that leap, though.
Well, I don't see it now. But get back to me at the trade deadline if the Orioles haven't moved him.
Is that going to go down as one of the dumbest, most stubborn?
Oh yeah, he may be a worse owner than
Don't
Jeffrey
say it.
Loria.
Oh, no way.
Oh yeah.
Wait, owner of the Expos or the Marlins? Which version?
Yes.
Expos owner or yes, both.
Both.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
look at all the talent that has gone through Baltimore under his ownership, and look at the complete lack of anything that they've done with it.
Like nothing. I mean,
right.
Nothing. Right. What's it like to be a Baltimore fan?
Oh, it's gotta be agonizing.
We're gonna have to get one on here. I want them to share this pain with all of us because we can't.
I mean,
quite.
I would imagine what it was like to have been a Cubs fan in the 70s.
Shit, Cardinals fan in the 70s. They were terrible.
I mean, seriously, no hope of being on the playoff or being in the playoffs on the horizon. It's got to be even worse to be an Orioles fan, knowing that you not only have to have a good team, you have to have an exceptionally good team just to qualify for the playoffs.
Well, and what's it like knowing you're the Orioles? You're kind of you're not a lovable loser. You're not you're really not anything, and you're taking a trip out somewhere West Coast, and who is going to buy a ticket to see an Angels versus Orioles game because the Orioles are in town?
Well, I would imagine, you know what? I bet it's a lot like being a White Sox fan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no, I think that's dead on, man.
You have to share a market with what has turned out to be a more popular team, even though
you're referring to the Nationals.
Yes, even though they up to this point haven't, and obviously I'm talking about pre-2016, but
which is also a Charlotte market, by the way. Don't leave us out.
Right. They've done nothing to justify that love from the local fans. And
it has been disproportionate.
Yet they prefer the other team to yours, even though your team has over its existence had much more success.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet it's a lot like being a White Sox fan.
You have names like a Cal Ripken, Brooks Robinson.
Yeah. You have history.
Jim Palmer.
And more recent success than the Nationals. Because the Nationals didn't exist.
Yeah.
They did. Just in Montreal.
Expos.
And they set all kinds of records. Yep. Hall of Famer, Andre Dawson. Chase your ass, doesn't it?
Fuck.
I do.
All right. All right. Guys, do we have anything else? Because we've really been we're almost an hour and a half into this, which I could do this all night if you want to, but
so I just have to ask, when you guys got on, not this show, but when you got on for Cardinals Nation, had it been announced? Oh yeah, I'm sure it had been announced that Wainwright was going on the 60-day DL, right?
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yep. Yeah, I imagine this is the end of the road, right?
Oh, I knew he went on the DL. I didn't hear 60.
No, they transferred him to 60 so they could bring up what's his name, catcher.
Does Wainwright throw another pitch this year?
Think about it, 60 days. That's being on the DL before he's even gonna, be eligible to come off. That's right. July. Yeah. That's late July.
Robinson Cano might play a game before Wainwright does.
Yeah.
Well, that's likely. Here's where we kind of netted out on that. As far as three Cardinals fans talking earlier tonight, we don't question a guy like Adam Wainwright. We don't question his heart. We don't question his competitiveness or his willing to do whatever it takes to come back later.
Wait, are we talking about Jay Cutler or Wainwright?
No, we're talking about Adam Wainwright. Who would you rather share a car ride with? I think that's pretty clear. Yeah. So, for as much as he's done for the community, just not only on field but off field, for what he's meant for the clubhouse, for the culture. I mean, we all of us want to see him go out a little on his own terms, at least satisfying enough for him, and then for Cardinal fans, we could have a proper send off. It's not going to happen like we would have wanted it to as we approach the year, but I do believe he's going to do everything he can to come back and contribute in any capacity. But I think what it'll probably likely net out at is that he will be on their roster in September timeframe. They'll let him throw a few innings if possible, and he'll get his last ovation at Busch. And I think that's the end of the road. If they were to secure a playoff position, I don't think he's going to be on the playoff roster. They can't have somebody experimenting from pitch to pitch because they have nothing and they can't do anything. And he's trying to do whatever he can to get anything over the plate that's semi-difficult to hit. It's just he can't do it. He feels like he can. His body's not letting him do it. It's really, you hate to see guys go out like this. This is really bad. But Pete, I agree. I don't think we've seen him throw his last pitch. I believe he's absolutely thrown his last pitch as a starter. They'll let him throw a few innings in the bullpen, I think, later in the year, and I think that'll be over.
I would love to see them allow him the same exit that the Cubs afforded Kerry Wood. Bring him in against the bottom of a lineup, let him pitch a clean inning, and then walk off the mound.
Yeah,
his last pitch for the Cardinals
or like Matt Holliday. They let Matt Holliday do that in 2016. They let him come up and pinch hit late in a game that didn't have a whole lot of meaning, and he actually, he popped one over the fence, and he was able to walk out that way. I'm with you, man. I hope for the exact same thing.
Because the last thing you want to see is him walking off the mound injured. That's
or the manager had to take him out because he just walked 3 people in a row. Right. No, none of us want to see that. And I hopefully that common sense overcomes emotion. If he physically can't do it, and they see that he can't do it, that it'll end in a different way. It'll be disappointing. But yeah, I think it's over for him, guys. I'm not sure the extent of this injury. I don't know if we'll know anytime soon. But he re-aggravated an elbow injury. He's already had one Tommy John. So if it's actually if anything's torn there, I think he might be done now. We just don't know it yet.
I read something interesting that there's a rumor going around that he never fully came back from his Achilles injury, and that because of that, he had to alter his delivery, and that has led to the long-term deterioration, both of his ability and also his body. And that's why he ended up having to go to Tommy John.
It would make 100%. Well, if he goes to Tommy John now, he had that in 2011.
Right.
But no, Pete, that whole timeline makes sense. I think I've heard the exact same thing, that he came back from that too early. And I remember in 2015, he was pretty stubborn about that. He was going to be back in time for a late season. Yep. He could have pushed it, and you're absolutely right. And whoever wrote that is absolutely right. When something on your body's not working that you rely on to get drive and it's a part of your body that's required to deliver a pitch. Other areas are going to have to compensate for it. Of course, you're going to have to change. And yeah, if that's caused other issues, it's completely, no kidding. So, I hope that's not the case, but the whole timeline of that makes sense. This has not been Adam Wainwright just deteriorating just now. We've been seeing it for the last 2 years.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't want to see that. Last thing, can we talk about Yachty and his boys?
Absolutely.
He was on.
How is this boy doing?
He was
one boy.
He was on. Speaking of coming back too soon, guys, this is a thing I have to think about as a Cardinals fan. He was on Two Birds on a Bat today because he's got some time now. His brother's on that. His brother's on that show. We love that. We love those guys there. But he talked to them today, and it sounds like he could be back in June. Will he? Should he? Really, should he's the question.
Should he?
So we'll see. Yachty is. He's a tough guy. We know that. He's going to try to get back as soon as he can. I just hope he comes back when not when he's ready, but when his body's ready. I'll feel more comfortable about that. But to exacerbate the whole situation, guys, Carson Kelly went on the DL today.
Yep. Right hamstring strain.
Yeah.
Right. So it'll be, Tony Pena's son will be catching probably majority of the games, and they purchased a contract of a guy, Steve Barron. I think his first name's Steve.
Yeah.
For the Cardinals, and I know nothing of this guy. I know that they have another prospect in Springfield AA. Probably
they moved him up to AAA today. He got a double in the second at bat.
Okay, cool. So that's what I I didn't know that earlier when we recorded the other show, but I was wondering what the domino effect was with the catchers in the Cardinals system. Was he going to move up to AAA? So he'll get a taste up there, which I think is a good thing. That guy has the bat that Kelly doesn't, but he doesn't have the defensive skills that Kelly has, reportedly. So,
but boy, Kelly hasn't looked like the second coming of Yachty behind the plate that he was supposed to be. He has not looked good.
No, and he hasn't helped his case that he's proved everything he's needed to at AAA. I would say not. So may not be the worst thing in the world, but he was going to be relied on to at least take half the starts, and he's not there, so they have to shuffle a little bit. So hopefully this doesn't put more pressure on Yachty to force himself back quicker. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, because you have that bad feeling that if he does, he's going to re-injure himself down the line and possibly be out for a longer time after that.
Well, he's got nut
you hope not. Yeah, he's got bulletproof.
Wearing ballistic cup. So
yeah.
Chris Bryant, you son of a bitch. Anyway, it was Chris Bryant, right? 102 mile an hour fastball. Speaking of 102 mile, Jordan Hicks.
He got lit up tonight.
We're all impressed with his velocity, but he hasn't had a lot of strikeouts, guys. How much do you think this is a major league hitter is being immune to the 100 mile an hour fast or inoculated to the 100 mile an hour fastball? Like, it's not a surprising thing anymore.
Well,
right?
you know what?
Yeah, but you know what? Chapman's still good. I mean, you still see these. Brandon Morrow throws 98. 99. He's still effective. I mean, you got to have that second pitch. You can't just throw heat because eventually you foul it off enough, you're going to hit one.
Yeah, I think that was Trevor Rosenthal's problem too. He never developed that really great second pitch.
Wipeout slider or wipeout changeup.
Right. One of the things that go ahead.
No.
Go ahead,
one of the things that I read about Jordan Hicks early on that somebody had noted was he's got a lot of heat, but he doesn't have a lot of movement.
Right, right. If it's a straight line, it doesn't matter, right? It kind of
doesn't have the kind of 102 mile an hour fastball that Aroldis Chapman has. Now, that makes it very frustrating when Chapman is pitching for your team and he can't find a plate. But it also makes it very difficult for a pitcher or for a hitter to sit on his fastball because it's moving so much. And reportedly, and this is, I think, probably part of the big jump that Hicks made, right? Jumping from what he was at AA, right? But he had only been there for a couple of weeks. He hadn't played above A ball before this year.
That's right.
That's a big jump. And that's typically what you would probably be looking to add in the minors is looking to add some movement and or looking to add a second pitch.
Yeah, that's right. I think what happened in the Cardinals case is that they had a need for him. I think based off of just who was available coming out of spring training. I was surprised that. Well, I was glad he had a great spring training, but you got to keep in mind who these guys face a majority of the time. He was facing minor leaguers more often than not, pitching a little bit later in spring training games. That's who you're going to run up against. I think he did have a start or two, though. But a start or two against people that hadn't seen him before, so it's different. So you guys heard me say this a million times, second, third time around the league, things change. And, scouting's great. We know that. All the analytics are great. So people can figure out if you're a one-trick pony, people are going to figure it out. So
as evidenced by his line tonight. You got no outs, gave up 3 hits, 3 earned runs. He put the game out of reach.
You say that with a sense of satisfaction.
No, just reporting the news.
Uh-huh.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, we don't. All right, gents. We've been 90 minutes on the clock.
You have. I kind of feel like you did last week, man. I came in a half hour late. Yeah. I'm just getting started. Not true.
No. Well, hey, no, bring up a topic if you want.
No, not true, man.
Yeah, I've only been on for 3 hours now. So
I tell you what, one thing that does tick me off, just to wrap it up about the whole Robinson Cano suspension, is that he gets to serve his suspension while he's on the DL.
On the DL, I know that's just bullshit.
And I know he was on the DL before the suspension officially came down, but that's such BS.
It is.
that's not a punishment.
No, the punishment, and we can talk about this and some other. We've talked about it on here before, but I know we talked about the whole voiding the contract thing. That might actually be too far. Probably never happen. But you know what? An offense like this, I mean, he doesn't get paid for his 80 games. I get that.
Yeah. $12
million. His real punishment is going to be not making it into the Hall of Fame. That is going to be his.
But will he care? Will he care? I mean, he may live in some other country and not give a shit after that. I mean, but you know, guys, think about it. I mean, think about it. We talk about it next show. But what can Major League Baseball actually do to deter this even more? To make it like really, really freaking hurt? Because I think like immediately voiding a contract even on the first offense is probably never going to fly with a players union. It's not.
Nope.
But can you say, all right, you get your 80 game suspension, or shit, make it a year, right? That's a whole year. And a portion of your salary you forfeit for the next whatever, you know, depending on what kind of contract or situation you're in. If you're a guy who's still, you know, under team control, you've never had free agency, you know, you got to think all that stuff through. But how do you really make it like, damn, swallowing those pills to try to recover from this injury quicker, taking this or that, is it really worth, you know, having to forfeit 40% of my contract for 40% first year, and then it maybe goes down. He's just a lot of time thinking about it.
He's losing all his game checks for this. I read it's
but beyond that, Pete. But beyond that, I mean, even when you come back, you say, well, it's not only that you don't get paid for the 80 games or the whole year, but your next year you owe us 25%. Whoever, I don't know. I mean, but I also think that the team shouldn't be off the hook for this shit because it's your player,
right?
And your player cheated and it benefited your team potentially. So, you know, a portion of that, maybe he's like, you know what? The team doesn't have to not pay that player 25%. Now the team has to pay a portion of that to whatever the hell. I mean, I don't know, right? You got to think it all through. But how do they? I guess my point is, how do they do all this stuff to where it really, really, really hurts when they get caught? Because if they don't do that, these guys are going to cheat, sign a big deal. And what's the consequence after that? So you don't pay me for 80 games. That's fine. I had a 10-year contract. I don't really care. I'll cash.
There you go.
With that said, Pete.
With that said, when we're not online, you can find us at teamarivalspodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook by searching for Team Arrivals Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter or at Team Arrivals Pod, on Instagram at Team Arrivals Podcast. You can contact us at the show at teamarivalspodcast.com. And you can contact Elliott through Twitter at
TOR_Elliott.
Obviously, Thursday nights, watch us live on YouTube, although next week, Wednesday. The next 2 weeks, Wednesday. And then catch us anywhere you listen to podcasts: iTunes, Radio Public, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Play, and of course, my God, I got to grab something. Don't forget to visit the team store.
Did you get something new?
On Zazzle. No, I didn't get something new. I just forgot they have something handy.
We've seen the ball, man. I want a new product every week. All right.
You got to pay me more.
All right, gents. Been a confusing week for me and baseball, but let's as we work our way through May into June, let's hope things get better for me anyway.
Cubbies play the Reds this weekend, 4-game series.
So you got your elixir if you need it.
Hey, you can watch them.
No, I can't.
Yeah, sure you can. They're your home team.
I have no ability to watch a Reds game.
You can't because he's blacked out because it's.
Oh, that's right.
Because he streams.
Opening up wounds, Pete. Thanks. I wasn't going to bitch about the Reds tonight. Now I am. Thank you, Cincinnati. Sons of bitches. You and the Padres are my shit baseball list. All right, everyone. It was fun. Great talking to you. Also, thank you to Two Birds on a Bat for continuing to support our show. Chris and the Cardinals Nation Facebook page, your partnership here has been key. If you haven't checked it out yet, we have another podcast. It's called the Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast. It's the official podcast of the Cardinals Nation 24/7 Facebook page and Cardinals Nation Facebook group. Please check that out. Share, like. New show. I'm on it. That's a great thing. Had a great guest. I want to thank Tara Wellman for Birds on the Black tonight, and Jared Redwine for sitting in for Chris while he was out. It's been a long night for me, but if you haven't checked that out, please do. Especially if you're a Cardinals fan, we'll even take Cubs questions on that show too. But we just won't let Pete screen those or have anything to do with them. Everybody have a great week, and we will be back here same time, same place. Well, different time, same place next week. Bye, everyone.